Well, it would have done, but he caught them badly.
Hawkins, 28. One.
This group has been a tale of 2 days for Stephen Maguire. He won 3 matches out of 3 yesterday, lost 3 out of 3 today. But there's no doubt the semi-finals will sharpen his mind, increase the intensity. As the red was going towards the pocket, wasn't quite sure whether he'd potted it. Always heading towards that near jaw, but at that pace, it was just about going to flop in.
$16. $17.
Always been good pals, these two, but that friendship is now very much on hold for the next 3, 4 or 5 frames.
24. $31.
At times over the last 4 days, Maguire's played some really good snooker.
$32.
Especially, I thought, in Group 5 here on Monday and Tuesday, where he made the playoffs, only to lose 3-2 against Mark Selby. After being 2-1 up. That was in the semi-finals.
$39. $40. $47. $48.
There is one awkward red on the table, up towards the baulk line. But with Maguire already 23 points ahead, if he gets that far, its awkwardness will not matter. Remember now, the stakes increase. It's £1,000 bonus for making the semi-finals, and when you're here, it's £300 per frame one as opposed to £100 in the group phase.
64.
For Maguire here to pocket another £300. It was that elementary blue plus this simple red.
69. 70.
Hawkins needed a snooker before the blue went in. Now he needs two.
75. Steve Maguire, 75.
Well, the double goes astray, so no century, but 3/4 of a century. Maguire leads by 43 with 35 on. In this kind of situation, when there's one red left on the table and there's the potential for a free ball with an additional 8 points, I think any frame is theoretically redeemable. But after that, forget it. It's over. Cracking pot to seal the opener.
Six. 8. 11. 15. 15 in the frame. Steve Maguire.
That was a pretty good frame from Steve Maguire. Hawkins in first, but he missed a red. Admittedly, a tad tricky. And then Maguire stepped in, capitalised with a 75 break. Barry Hawkins 0, Steve Maguire 1. The 4 players left in this evening: Maguire, Hawkins, or at least containment was the idea. What a cracking pot from Stephen Maguire. And with the reds spread as they are, after this, a barn burner that was. After that, a really nice chance. Not just the reds invitingly spread, the colours also, all of them, without exception, available.
Three.
Lots of choice and lots of contemplation. Once he's in a flow, he won't be playing like this, but he's just marking out what he needs to do, where he needs to be. This is not quite as easy as it looks, because the red nearest the pocket means that this isn't a full target. Played it off the near jaw.
Ten.
And the pink goes on the black spot, which for Maguire isn't a handicap.
Eleven. 17. 18.
As I said in frame one, it is plainly obvious that the intensity level within Steve Maguire has risen several notches from the way he was playing in the round robin phase.
24. 25. 31. 32.
In their head-to-head meetings outside of the Championship League in all other tournaments, excluding the shootout, because we don't really put that in the head-to-heads, it's only a 10-minute frame after all, Maguire leads 11-7 against Hawkins. Although Hawkins has won their two most high-profile meetings.
38.
He's beaten Maguire twice at the Crucible. 10-9 first round in 2011, 13-9 quarterfinals a couple of years ago.
39. 45.
Black nudged towards the top cushion, but I suppose he's got plenty of other colours to zone in on, and with a 45-point lead, having a big colour safe is no bad thing. But missing a red like that is...
Steve Maguire. 45.
Well, what can Hawkins do to respond? The way he was flowing there, I'm very surprised that Maguire missed that. It wasn't an easy shot, of course not.
1.
And Hawkins playing the direct screw has just overdone it. Hence the need for the rest. Well, he can pot a red to right middle, I'm sure. But horrible cueing.
7. Touching ball.
Well, he can't pot a red to right middle because the pink goes back on its own spot, and in so doing, scuppers Hawkins. Well, well, well. At least he's got a touching ball so he can play away and pretty much choose where he wants to leave the white.
By Hawkins 7.
Whenever the round-robin phase is over and the knockout phase, the playoffs begin, there's always a change to the feel of these days here at the Rico. Well, that was a superb pot. Now, it can be really deceptive. The pink is close to the middle pocket, of that there's no doubt. But this kiss on the black could have been better for Maguire. If he is going to try and pot the pink, this could well go astray. Needs to be absolutely on the button. The angles are really deceptive when it comes to middle pocket potting, so maybe the green is the more sensible option. Was the cue ball? Oh,
Wow.
very unlucky.
Stephen Maguire 1. By Hawkins.
Very unlucky. Hawkins will be relieved because the cue ball caught a middle pocket jaw there, stayed on the table, and Maguire had a red to follow. It might have been frame over. Just avoided the yellow, and because he stunned it round at a natural angle, in it went.
One.
Can Hawkins get back into the frame? Minimum requirement. Cracking red.
Six. Seven.
Nicely done from Hawkins, not just the pot, but stunning across the face of the red.
14.
Very much a left-hander, Barry Hawkins, but when he uses the rest, plays right-handed. Not alone in that. Quite a few left-handers are prone to switch when the rest's involved.
Twenty-two.
Just keeps on keeping on. Well, with the break having arrived at 30, this is the toughest pot of the lot so far. Really well done. Running side, couple of cushions, absolutely pinpoint on the black. Lovely. Two classy players. And this has been a really classy contribution. Hawkins now 3 points ahead. And after that,
39.
He's now a massive favourite to win the frame. Arrives at the colours with an 8-point lead. So clearing
45.
down to the blue will do. Doesn't need that maybe awkward pink.
$48.
Well, a very strange reaction there on the brown. Nothing seemed to happen. Don't know whether he got a bad contact or not. It was just a dull kind of reaction. Never mind the blues in anyway. 2 snookers required by Maguire, but I don't think he's going to get back to the table.
By Hawkins, 57 on the frame.
Well, Hawkins does miss the pink, but nevertheless, Maguire concedes. That really was a
third frame. Barry Hawkins to break.
Here's frame 3. So 1-1 Hawkins Maguire. It's also 1-1 in the other semi-final on table 2. Mark Davis and Martin Gould. I can tell you what's happened. Gould got a couple of snookers in the opening frame, snatched it on the final black. What a blow that was for Mark Davis, but he responded really positively, making a 78 break in the second frame. And that match, like this one, is right at the start of frame 3. Maguire walks away, letting out a sigh of indignation. I think he said, "You're joking." Couldn't quite believe he'd left it on.
One.
When we started here on Monday, the tables were
8.
more reactive than this. Easier to screw back. They were playing quicker as well.
9.
Even with only 4 days play, there has been a change in conditions. But Hawkins, by and large, seems to be coping very well.
Seventeen.
Entered the fray in Group 3 a couple of weeks ago as he plays that delightful positional cannon. Actually got to the final of Group 3, losing to Judd Trump, who played brilliantly in that final, breaks of 82, 127 and 61. Then he was a semi-finalist in Group 4, losing out to the eventual group winner Stuart Bingham.
Thirty-two.
And then here on Tuesday, he was a finalist, runner-up in Group 5, losing out to Mark Selby. So he's been close to booking his place in the winners' group on 3 separate occasions. Is this going to be 4th time lucky? Well, went into them quite robustly, but not a great deal seemed to move. Look at this. Just a couple of reds. Oh, that is queuing par excellence. Beautiful stuff. I've said this before this week. And if you were listening when I did so, I apologise in advance, but I personally believe that Barry Hawkins is one of the most underrated players, not just in the modern game, but in the history of snooker.
55.
There or thereabouts so often. And when he plays well, he's a joy to behold. Not flash, but very dependable. And he'll need something a little flash here to continue the break.
62.
I think there's only one avenue, a very difficult red to right middle. I think he's trying to work out a shot to nothing here, where the only red he could leave was the one he goes for. Where to put the white to make that happen. Doesn't want to take any risks, especially the way the remaining balls are placed, because Maguire from here could easily put together a full-blown counter-attack. Well, that was a little lucky from Barry Hawkins. I think he was right to play the safety. In command of the frame. He's got a good cue ball, and he's also got the bonus of 2 reds going to a side cushion. Almost inevitably, Maguire taking the first available opportunity to remove one of those awkward reds. But for now, the other one is staying put. Right at the top of Barry Hawkins' wish list now is a couple of colours safe. Oh, again. Shot to nothing because he played the cue ball into the corner, knowing he could only leave the red he went for. But nevertheless, excellent pot. Now, there was nothing shot to nothing about that yellow. That was go for the jugular.
Sorry. 3.
Took it on knowing he would leave balls. Red in a colour. That's what he needs.
Thanks. 4.
66 in front, 67 on the table. He's played a very tidy frame here.
11. Right, Hawkins. 11.
That would have sealed it for sure. Maguire needs a couple of snookers. Winning this frame for him, not an impossibility, but it's highly unlikely. Especially now. And so, frame has been conceded. Stephen Maguire, after leading 1-0, now finds himself, as people would thought he would get. So Maguire wins the first frame with a break of 75. Hawkins clears up with a 50 plus to blue to draw level, and then helped by a 62 break in the third. He places himself one frame away from the group final. It's not been an outrageous run, but definitely the fortune so far has gone with Hawkins. He's got away with a couple of missed pots. Maguire was really unlucky in the second frame to pot a green and running off. And I'm just wondering here, surely he hasn't left a plant. Surely not. The smile on Hawkins' face suggests it's worth a second look. Well, can you believe it? He had knocked a plant on.
1.
The one silver lining in a dark cloud there for Maguire. The pink one pot to the left-hand middle. That lone red is blocking its path.
Yellow ball.
So Hawkins nominates yellow.
Sorry, Hawkins 1. Seven. 8.
The red on the brown spot will pot.
$14. 50.
Is there a path through to a red? I think from Maguire's body language. No. Not just from his body language, his facial expression as well.
Steve Maguire 20.
And that mistake was born out of frustration. Nothing more, nothing less. Didn't take his enough time on the shot and was stretching over in an ungainly fashion. Off balance, caught the red far too thick.
Nice. 1.
Not for the first time. Hawkins not getting the purchase, the backspin
6.
on the cue ball when trying to deep screw.
Nice. Harry Hawkins 6.
Return paths to balk here are limited. That's very good from Hawkins. Just about enough room to come off 3 cushions. Avoid the black, avoid the blue. In fact, avoid everything. Maguire snookered on all 10 reds. Big shot this. Oh, well done.
1.
Would like to pot the brown after this excellent pot. Needs to avoid the yellow though. Yes, dug deep. Deep enough to avoid the yellow.
Five. Six.
He's looking pretty mean, is Barry Hawkins, looking pretty sharp.
13.
That red ties the scores in the frame, and there should be plenty more to come.
$19. 20. $26.
Would be really useful for Hawkins if the red closest to the cue ball potted past the other one. And I believe it does.
$27. $33. $34.
Black on the side cushion, out of commission for the entirety of this break. But with his cue ball control, the pink's all he needs.
$40.
Gets a little more problematic after this, though.
$41.
One of those situations where if he pots one red after this pink, he frees up another.
$47. $48.
Very close to the winning line now. 35 in front. That means he needs the pink and one more red. But hold your horses.
48.
At this precise moment, Hawkins looking for some solace. He's happy the black's safe. After that, though, it's a moot point.
One.
This, presumably the final mistake Maguire's made in Group 6. There's no presumably about it. The match is over.
7. $8. By Hawkins, 8. Birmingham.
Stephen Maguire made a really good start to this group, winning 3 matches out of 3 yesterday, but today he's drawn a blank. He lost all 3 matches in the group phase, and even though he made the semi-finals,